So my topic is about Chinese curriculum. Okay, have anyone learned Chinese? With any? Some of you? Okay. So do you know, compare, it's research, okay. I'm a language teacher for more than 20 years, scary. So actually, there's a research laid out there how difficult of learning Chinese. I think many of you already know how difficult, right? Especially, what's that? Reading and writing. So the comparison, you're learning French, you're learning Spanish. They do a research of all the languages. Learning, okay, just 1 year of learning Spanish, you achieve certain proficiency level, right? Of course. And then, but the same proficiency achievement applied to Chinese, it takes 5 times. It will take 5 years. So that's how hard of the language is. Because when you talk about learning languages, speaking and talking, is that enough? No. You open up a newspaper or you go travel to China. I don't know. There's no pinyin. I cannot read. The menu, there's why no pinyin. No English. I cannot read. But the authentic way when you travel, these are the important ones. So what's unique of our school, there are so many language programs. Why YingHua stand out is our model of the learning language. Our younger student is 100% immersion. So little one, they cry, they be silent for quite a while because they are, at home you don't speak any Chinese. Of course, for they coming to teacher all speak Chinese, classmates speak Chinese because they come here from baby. They already speak Chinese. They take time to get familiar how to communicate. But very amazing for a period of time. I see so many they cry for 3 months and then suddenly during the exam is 苏老师，我很累。Teacher, I'm so tired. So they could speak to me, express their emotion, express their feeling, and complain about their classmate push them in Chinese. So that's how stand out. Our YingHua program is different from other school. And then when they up to the kindergarten, and they can start learning the character, the start teacher. But mechanic, they're not ready to write a lot of things. And then we not say, okay, you do something wrong. Because for them, it's still image copy, just drawing the photo. That's natural. And up to the first grade, and then it's fully, okay, we have to have the learning the Chinese recognition, you have to writing, you have the sentence pattern. And then second thing I want to talk about is language-based and content-based. So what's the out of YingHua is also most of the language program, like Chinese language, just once a week, maybe once per day the most, and just 1 hour, maybe 2 hours the most. And that's mostly how you can learn. Just thinking if we want to travel somewhere, if I want to learn French, I want to travel to France. What thing I need to learn? Survival language, right? I want to ask where's the direction, how much it is, where's the bathroom, survival, how I get to the other place, well, I don't know what you're talking about. They are survival language. But for YingHua, those skill, verbal skill, those survival language, they pick up in the early language program. That tells teacher, I need to go pee-pee in Chinese. Teacher, I'm hungry, I need food. I'm cranky, I didn't sleep well. They all could say in Chinese in early age. So we build on, they already have speaking, have some skill. So they could use Chinese in quite language, in quite what they learn. They could listen, okay, so this is about bone. They could ask, okay, what's about bone? Where do you have a bone? Oh, in here. They could then have a natural, they already have the vocabulary. Why, when, how, what, those basic, and they could use those language skills to acquire knowledge. So we build upon of it. For content-based, so for our YingHua, when they first grade, they're not just learning a survival language, like most language textbook, okay? What day is today, and how many days, all the basic stuff. Then they learn Chinese through like a language arts, like English. So they learn how to recite the poem and rhyme to learn the language vocabulary. So that's very different from other programs. And then we build upon that. Through the unit of inquiry, they extend a lot of subjects through the content, through natural science, through topic connect with social study, like your family, your community, or like a transportation, but not just transportation, but concepts. So all the transportation, they have some concept. Teacher will guide them to explore. So what's the function of transportation? The student have to think, yeah, so what's the function? Okay, as you, parents, and what's the function of the transportation? What immediate in your mind?
You take one place to the other.
Yeah, they take you to one place to the other. Okay, so then the teacher will say, okay, what thing would take you from one place to the other place? On the airplane, 飞机, 火车, 自行车, or by walking. So they through the language inquire the information, not just that, but also the concept. And then when they explore something, see new things, then they won't feel like it's just so new. They will connect. They will connect. Okay, so and that's why we talking about the different language base and the content base. And then we're talking about the social language and academic language. So when the little kids, of course, most of these say communication is social. Social language we use, and because only Chinese teacher was only speak Chinese. We don't have English for the little one. So then they could social is Chinese. So you will hear them to speak more in Chinese in classroom. But when they're outside the classroom, the dominant in here is English environment. At home they see the cartoon. If they're talking about what they play, what they see, they're all in English, and that's we cannot take it away. Of course, you go to the serious college program, there is language pledge. You only could speak the language. And I think recently there is a good about in Duke University, and some of you already. Okay, so because we cannot use that language pledge to tell our older student, you only can speak Chinese only. It's in some level, it's really disconnect them. They naturally want to connect with their peer, no matter in school, outside the school. So when they're getting older, their language level will not just the thing they're familiar with. If you're learning language, most of the textbook beginning all relate to yourself, and then bigger community and a friend. But then if you want really serious about your language level as academic, you have to know the history. You have to know what's the current event, how to discuss the current event in the target language. Our student could have that abilities. So I could talk with my 6th, 7th, 8th grade middle school. We could talk about, okay, the yellow jacket happened in Paris. Why and how? We're talking about revolution unit. While we're talking about revolution unit, we bring the current events, and they could be able to discuss with me in Chinese. Doesn't have to be in English. And it's a different level of language skills. Especially like when you're writing and how you social talking, it's a different skill. So our school, it built out the students very good reading skill and writing skill. So when we talk about, so then you will observe why my kids, they speak English more. So up to the middle school tell you because, teenagers, they are rebels just by nature. We all rebel once in our lifetime, right? So they want to connect more peer, and then that social emotional, they will just try to against. But it doesn't mean they doesn't have that ability. In the classroom, we still try to push them. They have to produce products in the language. So it's hard for me to display what we do. So, okay, for example, for Chinese class, we are reading the novel, science fiction. So I try to balance social, like a social study, and in our middle school we call it individual and society, which is social study, no matter economics or geography and history, it all blend in. But also we use the language as like a language art. We're reading the science fiction, Ender's Game. Maybe some of you read that Ender's Game, and we talk about the student have to note taking. We read along the story, and then we have to find the characteristics of these main characters in the key event. But at the same time, I also want to push my student be able to have a creative piece. You see a lot of program students write explanatory, maybe argumentative essay about it. But I know for the kids itself, they're so creative. So I love to give them the opportunity to create story. So over through the time, like this actually when they were 6th grade, we learned about a lot of immigration topic. And then they have a different group. They have to learn immigration from Irish, from Ireland, and then from China, and then from Germany. So everybody have a study different. Then we create an idea then like a art, a storyboard. So they have to have a picture, and then they have to write each picture to talk about a story and create a story, a character through the different time and how they end up to America. What kind of difficulty they encounter, they have to tell me in their story. And when they were older, then next year we're talking about Columbian exchange, the phenomena in history. There are so many things we eat now. Before the Columbian explore, it not happen in our dining room table, especially Italian food. The tomato is not native in Europe. So, but we're talking about the story, the history. The history fact is so dry, but I want them to create. Okay, now you are the Columbus. You create a story. Of course, they are not a professional historic fiction writer. But I want them to think about, okay, then tell me what would inspire him want to explore. And then I tell them the history about how many times they encounter the difficulty, he cannot find people to sponsor him, and then finally, and then they have to create a story. So many of them write an encounter to the different king or queen, and then they have a fight, and they try to throw him out of the game. And it's so interesting, and they could create a lot of the story. So that's their product. So it's not just about a dry learning language, but also a part of a piece of creativity in there. So that's and then for academic language, they're not just learning it. They also have to apply it. They're not just learning through the content individually, but also they have to create. So I want them to be able to use the language. That's the important part. Okay, so then overall, we also want to, from 1st grade to the 8th grade. So we are building this year is our fully complete to 8th grader. So this year we also bring in to levelchinese.com. That's a company in California. They do the Chinese proficiency level, and they have assessment. Because English have an English level. That our English department will test our student, tell she is an H reader, she is L reader, and then see how their progress. So we have now we have that in Chinese. That's how we bring in. We hope out to also oversee to see our student reading level. And first, it's to provide data to us, a teacher, when we can see what part of language art. Then we need to improve the student, because the language, no matter it's English and Chinese, there are so many components we need to cover. When you read a text, can you predict what's going to happen? Can you find a clue to see what's the character in the text, what it could determine in different things? For example, for the history for the revolution unit. There is an activity where there are so many different type of revolution. And I want the student read the narrative and then tell me what kind of revolution it is implied. Is it industrial revolution? Is it religion revolution? Is it social revolution? Is it political revolution? And through that, so they be able to read the text, that exercise, not only they be able to predict or to categorize. Okay, what we already learned so many different kind of revolutions and the characteristics. So they have to tell me, oh, this is an industrial revolution because the text said this country is new country. They want to develop their economy, so they bring a lot of policy to boost their industrialization. So it is industrial revolution. And then the second piece, I want students, then you predict after the revolution, how the people's life will change. Then they have to extend their knowledge to think, stretch a little bit more, tell me, oh, maybe their life will be better because they have a more job. So the farmer will lose their job. A lot of people go to the factory to work. And then is there any negative part? Yes, because maybe they did not care about environmental issue. They cut down the tree, build a factory, build the houses. That's the stretch. So, and then go back to the level Chinese. And this website, it helped to assess all the students, provide the information so that the teacher could know how to cover for different component of language art. And then also to tell you how your child, their reading level, and how you could help, and what kind of level of the books, what kind of resource you could provide to your child. And so that's I already mixed both of about it. So that's also I'm just talking about. So the language, not just about Chinese culture only, not just about Chinese language only. Our goal is when they graduate YingHua program, when they listen to the news, they know, oh, this is talking about environment. This is talking about technology. This is talking about some political change. This is talking about the social movement in some country. They be able to, maybe they cannot say 100% understand it, but they won't be afraid, say, I don't know anything. So that's the goal. They open a Chinese newspaper, they would pick up, no, this is what it's about. So that they be able to learn how to use in the future their workforce. And that's also is a very important skill. Because now actually so many people internationally learning Chinese. So just by speaking and listening and say, oh, I learned Chinese and I could say something, it's not enough. Can you apply? Can you be able to read a contract, to negotiate a contract? Maybe not 100%, of course, then in Google Translate, but not accurate because there is a personal connection about it. Because language also have a lot, beyond the text, there is a lot that underline it. And the machine cannot predict that because the diverse of the culture of change. So in our classroom, we also bring that awareness, because not just one ethnic group in China. There are so many ethnic groups. And then be able, when you go to different places, you predict there is somebody maybe speak the language with different accent. That's the reality. So we build in different way to take them to explore, to help them to understand. And so then we're talking about the Chinese language learning. Okay, the same classroom, I have the same student for over the years. They are the same teacher, but always why they are not the same product. We are not factory. They are not the same. Because very important is student themselves is a very important key player too. So that's why I want to talk about aptitudes and the attitude. Let's distinguish student by student, learner by learner. Aptitudes is some students have that innate of the aptitude. They really want to curiosity of learning. Not just about learning the language, but learning itself. Some kid, you probably know your kid better. Maybe you have several kids like me. Each of them have individual. Some just very curious, want to do something more. So they just want to do certain thing more. They're just curious about learning. Then of course, they are more open-minded and willing to thirst to get the knowledge. But also there are some students, they are not interested in learning. But, so our teacher's job is try to give them different opportunity to inspire them to learn. Like I have a group of students, they are not necessarily enthusiastic about learning, but they love to dance. So when 5th grade, we have the unit explore about the arts in action. Okay, arts in action. How are you going to teach art in action? So, but I'm not required that you have to do certain art. So I use the art, I use Picasso's art, talking about why the painter, the artist, they use their artwork to send a message to society, to stand out. I'm happy, I don't like the war. That's what happened of the war. So they look at the picture, the famous Picasso picture. They understand that. Okay, then we learn, okay, there's a serious issue, conflict. Civil wars happen, so many people suffer. Okay, so then there is a war, Mexico war. Now it's 4 years ago when we discussed talking about the issue. So we have a group of people that love to dance. They create a dance pieces to talk about how the students suffer through the Civil War and to send a message. They create their own choreography. I'm not a dancer, so I don't know. So I give them the space, I give them time, but then I ask them, you have to tell me your art pieces. Why you want to send a message? What's your storyline? They have to tell me. And then some students, they are not dancers, they don't want to dance. Okay, then you could use your comic drawing, you could use painting. You want to tell me about what will life change for children if there's a build a wall there, what life will change, what is supposed to, what you want to be as the peace in our life. Then they create a drawing to tell me the message. They also have to write a message to tell me what's their story. They in their art, what the message they want to send to me. So we give them different opportunity to stand out. And then some students, maybe they are not necessarily a very top student, but they are good at the verbal skill. So we give them opportunity, go to the speech contest. And our idea when Joy and I will talk about with speech contest, we not just want to just bring trophy to school. That's not our priority. Our priority, we want to give every student, want to encourage every student to be able to take the courage to take a risk, to participate. So we don't care about they did not win the trophy home, but we care about the student take a courage first time and get on the stage, maybe first time nervous, and then they see other people, oh, winning team, they did this, they'll get an idea. And next year, maybe the shy student, they're getting moving toward on the stage. One step more, that's what we care about. Okay, so I think that's I cover. So if you want to talk more, I could have spent a whole week to tell you about. So thank you for listening.